Let's talk about the Defender 110. It is a vehicle built for the modern explorer. Gretch, I have a friend who's extremely adventurous and she loves her Defender 110. It's a vehicle that looks tough because it is tough. The Defender boasts an exterior design for optimum durability. It has a raised hood and sculpted grille that give the Defender 110 a modern edge.
Yeah, it has 3D surround cameras with clear sight ground view that let you see underneath the vehicle and anticipate obstacles in rough terrain. Clear sight rear view offers an unobstructed rear view even when you can't see through the back window. Driver aid technologies make driving and parking simpler. Intuitive driver displays are customizable to your journey. Design your Defender 110 at LandRoverUSA.com. Visit LandRoverUSA.com to learn more about the Defender 110. Explore the Defender 110 at LandRoverUSA.com. Listen, Whole Foods Market is a great place to get everything that we need for a fantastic summer barbecue. They have the chicken thighs, the ground beef. We love to have salmon burgers, uncured hot dogs. Plus, there's all the other things that you love for summer barbecue, the ice cream, the tortilla chips, the salsas, salad kits. You can get it all at Whole Foods Market.
And look for hundreds of yellow low price signs that help you save without compromising the quality you expect from Whole Foods Market. There are so many ways to save on summer grilling favorites at Whole Foods Market.
Lemonada.
Hello, we're here for More Happier, a podcast where we get happier. Join us for some weekend listening. It's more observations and reflections with a little bit of a looser weekend vibe. Hey, Elizabeth.
Hey, Gretch.
Today we'll talk about loving something without judgment, and we go deeper on the psychology of the treadmill desk. But first, something making us happier. Elizabeth, what's making you happier?
Gretch, what's making me happier is the short trip that we both took to Kansas City last weekend.
Yes, we did.
I saw Eliza. She was in town and we were taking her out to dinner and she mentioned that you guys had just decided to go to Kansas City. And I said, oh, well, when are you going? Maybe I'll hop on your trip. Because remember, I talked about giving myself a demerit because I couldn't figure out any dates for Kansas City.
Yes.
My brain wasn't working.
Yes.
So I said, okay, forget it. I'm not going to try. I'm just going to jump on Gretchen's trip.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, of course, so much fun, as Kansas City always is. I mean, to me, summer is Kansas City.
Yes.
The air in Kansas City is what I associate with summer.
Though we didn't have cicadas, because usually we go in August and in June they didn't have the cicadas. So that was the one thing that was a little different. You know, Elizabeth, it was so great that you came. And it is interesting, like sometimes the hardest part is just the decision fatigue. And so when you were just, okay, I'm just going to do whatever they're doing, then it's just a yes or no. Can I do it or not?
Yeah, Gretch, the funny thing is because I just hopped on your trip and I just booked a ticket really fast, I didn't think to look at my calendar and see what else I had. So I ended up having to shift around a lot of stuff because it turned out I had a lot. But you know what? I was glad I didn't see it because it might have kept me from making the plan.
Oh, wow.
But it was kind of amusing that I didn't even check my calendar.
You're just they're like, this is happening. That is funny.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, we used to think that if we were going to go to Kansas City, it's like, oh, you have to go for many, many days, like a week for it to be worth it. And what we've realized is that even 2 nights, even one night is so much more than not going. Like we had barbecue, we had Winstead's, we went to Crestwood, I bought sunglasses, we went to the Prairie Village, we hung out, we watched movies together.
I saw 2 of my best friends.
Yeah, I mean, we went on 2 long walks with our father. We went to Coppin Gardens, we went to the Nelson, we visited the Shuttlecocks. Even in a short time, you can feel like you had a real visit. And I always remind myself of that because especially if there's a plane trip involved, you're sort of like, I want it to be really, really long, but a short trip is great too. And so that was a really good reminder because weirdly enough, we were sort of running out of summer with Eliza and Eleanor. And we were afraid that if we didn't get it in fast, we might run out of a time where we could go together. And we really wanted to do that. And anyway, it was a very happiness boosting trip.
It was. How about you? What's making you happier?
Well, something that makes me happy always is open stacks in a library. And so I am super fortunate because I went to Yale for college, and at Yale you can go up into Sterling Library and you can actually walk through the shelves and look at the books yourself and pull the books off the shelves yourself. Because in a lot of places they have closed stacks, which means you request a book and then the book is just delivered to you. You can't go there and wander around and look for yourself. And also here in New York, I belong to the New York Society Library, which is like one of my favorite places in New York City. And it's just a block from my house. It makes me so happy. And it's a small library, but it's sort of strangely perfect. Like almost every book that I want is there, even though I look for books that seem really random. I'm like, there's no way they're going to have this. And then they do. But they also have open stacks. So if I take my laptop, sometimes I go there and I'll just work at a desk that's sort of in some kind of secret corner and stack two or something. But I love just walking and just looking at the books and the titles. And I just feel really fortunate because I think more and more libraries are not allowing patrons to go and pick the books themselves. But part of the fun of it is because the Dewey Decimal System or whatever, like if I'm looking for a book, it's in a place where other books like it are there. And often I get the book that I intend to get, but then I also get other books that I didn't even know existed that are just adjacent. And this is something that it's just fun to do it yourself, not always be looking for exactly something, not always having an algorithm suggest something, but just letting kind of physical serendipity have its way. So I love open stacks. And open stacks, by the way, just means open shelves. It just means like you can walk among the shelves of books.
Yeah, I remember in college, Gretch, couples like to go up into the stacks and, canoodle in the stacks.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I ever did any canoodling, but I did a lot of hanging out.
I didn't myself, but I remember others doing it, and it always seems so romantic.
Yes, the open stacks, there's so much possibility there.
All right, Gretch, coming up, there is something you've been meaning to tell me, but first, this break.
Hey, Julia Louis-Dreyfus here. If you listen to me on my Wiser Than Me podcast, you probably already know that I'm an investor and an evangelist for the Mill Food Recycler. There are a lot of reasons to love Mill, but for me, it's all about the impact. Keeping food out of the garbage is one of the most powerful things we can do to help the planet every single day. We're talking banana peels, carrot tops, old takeout. When that stuff heads to the landfill, it becomes a huge driver of climate change. If you already compost, great. But of course, there's the smell, the flies, the running to the curb every day with a little leaking compost bag made of cornstarch. That's where Mill comes in. It makes keeping food out of the trash as easy as dropping it in. It can handle nearly anything, from a turkey carcass to like 20 avocado pits. It works automatically while you sleep. You can keep filling it for weeks, and it never, ever smells. Mill makes dry, nutrient-rich grounds that you can use in your garden, add to your compost, feed to your chickens, or Mill can get them back to a small farm for you. But you kind of have to live with Mill to really get it, and that's why they offer a risk-free trial. Go to mill.com/wiser for an exclusive offer.
You know what doesn't belong in your epic summer plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. While you're planning beach trips, barbecues, and 3-day weekends, your wireless bill should be the last thing holding you back. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network.
This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/Gretchen. That's mintmobile.com/Gretchen. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month, 5-gigabyte plan required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
All right, Gretchen, we're back, and there's something you've been meaning to tell me.
Okay, this is something that I have recently, I think I learned this a long time ago, but it's only recently that I realized that I learned it, if you know what I mean. So sometimes I get this thing where I feel really compelled by something. Like something all of a sudden just becomes intensely interesting to me. And sometimes it's obvious why. Like I remember before we got our dog Barnaby, I all of a sudden I read like 20 books about dogs and dog trainings and the mind of a dog and memoirs about dogs. It was like dogs. And it's funny, with Taffy, I didn't have that same impulse. I wondered if it would come back, and it didn't. It was sort of like I kind of had my fun with that subject, and now I have a dog, and now I have 2 dogs. But you could understand why. It's because you're getting a dog. But then sometimes I'll just get really preoccupied with something, like color. I just went on that kick for like 2-3 years when, I spent a huge part of my free time reading books about color, thinking about color, writing the book, My Color Pilgrimage, which nobody seems to like except for me, and I love it. Another thing, I love reading novels set in religious institutions. Like I have read so many novels set in monasteries or convents. For some reason, I will read any book if it's set in a monastery or convent. And I used to be kind of judgmental, or I would be like, I can't let myself go too far with this. Like, why are you doing this to such a degree? Why am I spending so much time on it? And so the thing that I've learned is don't judge. It's fine. Maybe there's some reason, there's probably some inner psychic reason, or maybe it somehow eventually will tie into my work, because a lot of times it does end up tying into my work, but in ways that I can't predict. But I don't now try to channel it in what might seem like a more productive direction. I just let it wash over me, and I just ride the wave of enthusiasm. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. And I'm the exact same way. Like, I remember the period of time where I read only books that were set like in New York in the 50s in publishing.
Oh.
I mean, I love that sort of thing. But also, Gretch, I will go down a rabbit hole.
Uh-huh.
Like, with the housewives. I love all the housewives, and I love listening to every podcast about the housewives. And I don't like to call it a guilty pleasure. That bothers me when people say it's my guilty pleasure, because I say, why are you guilty about it?
Okay. Expand on that. What an interesting idea. Right. Yes.
Well, especially like, for instance, with the housewives, people don't feel guilty for watching like 10 football games in a weekend. So why should I feel guilty about watching the shows that I like to watch?
Right.
But a funny example of how sometimes you don't know how things will come back into your life is I watched, you might remember, the whole O.J. Simpson trial.
Oh my gosh.
It was
every
the first
minute you were riveted.
Yes. And it was really the first time that, a trial was that big and had so much media coverage, and it was the beginning of court TV, and it was just this whole kind of shift in culture.
Yes.
And I found it very compelling. But then many years later, Sarah and I ended up creating a show with Marcia Clark called The Fix. She was the prosecutor in the O.J. Simpson trial. And all of my knowledge of that trial, of course, when we met Marcia, gave us the shorthand.
Right.
So you just don't know why the rabbit hole you're going down is a rabbit hole, but it could come back in ways that you don't expect. And if it doesn't, who cares? Like you said, if it's just for your own pleasure, so be it.
So I think that's exactly right. And that's why I don't want to be judgmental. And I do now say I'm going to embrace it, because either way is good. Because one thing that can happen is like all the thinking that I did about color, I think did feed into Life in 5 Senses. I have some of the color there, but not all the stuff that I have about color. And so it was useful in that way, in that it had got me thinking in a certain way. And certainly the OJ trial thing, that for you was like exactly relevant. But maybe it doesn't. Maybe my reading about people in monasteries and convents just will never pay off in any way other than just my sheer pleasure and my interest in the challenges and situations that arise when people are in that circumstance, which for some reason I find incredibly compelling. But either way, embrace it, because either it's useful or it's just fun. Because I do think that sometimes we get into these, even maybe without even realizing that we're being judgmental, we're judging ourselves and thinking, well, this is a waste of my time, or I shouldn't be doing this. And it's like, if you're not hurting anybody and it's not crowding out other priorities that are more important to you. I mean, if you were spending 9 hours a day doing something, and so you're not exercising, not sleeping, not working or whatever, that's not good. But if this is just part of your leisure, and it can also like bring something really important into your life once you make room for it. So I always think back to the beginning of my kidlit groups, and we're going to hit the 20th anniversary this September. So that's one of the things that's on my 25 for 25 list. I want to plan an anniversary party for the kidlit groups. But now in culture, it's hard to remember what it was like back then, because now it's much more typical for an adult to read a children's book or a young adult book, or to be interested in that, because there have been these huge culture-changing children's and young adult books that have come onto the scene. But back then, it was unusual. Adults didn't go to that section of the bookstore, and they didn't talk about it. And so when I remember saying to a friend of mine, I really love children's literature, and I'm thinking about starting a reading group. What do you think? And she's like, oh, I would like to join that group. And I have a friend who would like to join too. And then I started these groups, and there are so many people now in them. And it's such an engine of happiness for me, because for a while I didn't want to admit it, because I'm like, well, I'm this very sophisticated reader, and I'm very discerning, and I love Virginia Woolf, and I like Samuel Johnson. And people are like, okay, so you really want to talk about, Magic by the Lake? And I'm like, there is nothing that would give me more pleasure than to just go deep, deep, deep on Magic by the Lake. But once I acknowledged that about myself, I was able to bring it into my life in a way that gave me enormous pleasure. But even if I didn't start the groups, which gave me the pleasure of connection and new friends and all that, even just saying to myself, this is something that I love. I want to go to the children's section of the library. I want to check out books that are children's books. I just bought myself a copy of The Wheel on the Schoolhouse, which is a book that I read when I was like 9 years old. And I thought, I want to reread that book, because I want to reread it, right? It's just something that I'm interested in, even though for many people, it would seem like people are often like, they think that our children are in these groups with us. And I'm like, oh, we never talk about what children think. Children are not invited to these groups. But I had to let go of that fear of judgment.
Well, I also think going down the rabbit hole gives that pleasure of being a minor expert in something, like reading all about color. Suddenly you see color in a totally different way. And now you're a minor expert in it. And I'm a minor expert in the O.J. Simpson trial.
Well, you're a minor expert in MLMs, Elizabeth. Anytime I see a podcast or a documentary or something or a book, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is for Elizabeth, because she loves reading about MLMs, multi-level marketing. And you, I would say, are a minor expert in the history and practice of the multi-level marketing scheme.
Yes, that's true. That's another rabbit hole I've gone down.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, and you and Eliza and Eleanor, my two daughters, love scams. So whenever there's like a scam podcast or a scam documentary or a scam show, I'm like, hey, I text you all. And I'm like, because I don't particularly like a scam. That is not something that is compelling to me. But you guys are like, you're always ready for more.
Yes. And then being a TV writer, I feel that it will come in handy to know about scams, because something always interesting for a television show is a good scam.
Absolutely. And for a spotlight on a tool, Halfway Day is July 2nd. That is the midpoint of the year, and Halfway Day is a great time to reflect and reset on our 25 for 25 lists. I'm doing very well on some of my aims, like Operation Nick's Knowledge was very successful. I did, in fact, get a puppy. Check. Read a retreat with Elizabeth. Check. My slow read of War and Peace. That's happening. I did plan a podcaster gathering, but there are a lot of things that I still have not tackled. It is a good reminder on Halfway Day to remember what it is that I want to get done and start going, because the year is half over. So take the next week to check in on your own aims. If you haven't made a 25 for 25 list already, it's not too late. The second half of the year is a great time to commit to new aims. Visit happiercast.com/designyouryear to download the list template and find tips for building lasting habits or recommitting to your goals.
Yes. All right, Gretch, coming up, there's something you've been meaning to ask me, but first this break. Okay, Gretch, it's summer, and in summer, I love to refresh my wardrobe with Quince. Last summer, Mindy, my friend, had this great tiered maxi dress, and I said, where did you get that? She said, Quince. I looked it up. It was so affordable and available in so many colors. So I got black, because I always get black. And this summer, I'm back to Quince, refreshing all of my tees.
The Quince clothes are timeless, lightweight, and far more elevated than anything else at the price that you're paying, like 100% European linen shorts and dresses from $30, luxe swimwear, Italian leather platform sandals, and so much more. The best part is everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands. Give your summer closet an upgrade with Quince. Go to quince.com/Gretchen for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/Gretchen to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Gretchen.
Introducing the new Dell AI PC powered by the Intel Core Ultra processor. It's not just an AI computer, it's a computer built for AI. That means it's built to help do your busy work for you, so you can fast forward through
editing images, designing presentations, generating code, debugging code, running lots of apps without lag, creating live translations and captions, summarizing meeting notes, extending battery life, enhancing security, finding that file you were looking for, managing your schedule, meeting your deadlines, responding to Jim's long emails.
leaving all the time in the world for more you time and for the things you actually want to do. No offense, Jim. Get a new Dell AI PC starting at $749.99 at dell.com/AI-PC. How those ahead stay ahead.
Okay, listen, I've been meaning to ask you. So you have a Substack newsletter, which everyone should sign up for, of course. Go to happierinhollywood.com.
.com.
Yes, and scroll and sign up. And while you're there, sign up for my Substack too. I feel like, okay, this is like our mandatory reporting. Okay, but on your Substack, which I love, you talked about recommitting to your treadmill desk. You even had a little video of you getting on the treadmill desk. And I want to know everything. Why did you stop? Because for the longest time you did the treadmill desk, and how did you start again? Because I was not really aware that you had stopped until you talked about the fact that your treadmill desk was so covered with stuff that you weren't using it. And so when I came to help you clear clutter, we worked on the treadmill desk. But so take me through what your arc was with the treadmill desk.
Well, yeah, I did it for years and years, and Sarah and I would be on, Zooms, and I'd be doing it, be on calls all the time.
Well, and in your podcast, Happier in Hollywood, one of the segments is called From the Treadmill Desks, because it was such a signature thing of you two as a writing team that you had. I remember visiting your office on the Disney lot, and it was like 2 treadmill desks. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I think what happened is I used them all the time, and I used them during the show Sarah and I did. We did Fantasy Island, a remake of Fantasy Island for Fox. It went 2 seasons. And when we finished season 2, I think I just gave myself a break from the treadmill desk, just as sort of almost a ritual of finishing the show. Thinking, of course, I just won't do this for a few days, and then I'll get back on the treadmill desk. It was sort of like a marking of time. And then I just didn't get back on.
And how
I just
long was it?
sitting on the sofa. I mean, how long is it? It's been years now. And this goes to your point that you always make of, you think once you have a habit,
Yes.
like, I had it for 3 weeks, I'll have it forever. A
Yes.
good habit can be broken in an afternoon. It does
Yes.
not take a long time to break a habit.
Yes.
And I don't know why it just stopped being something that occurred to me, even though I was looking at it all day, every day.
Well, this reminds me of, a book that I'm talking about all the time that I love and that I'm recommending to everybody is The English Understand Wool by Helen DeWitt, which is like 70 pages long, but it feels like a whole book. But the main character plays the piano very well. And she says, one cannot, of course, dispense with a piano for more than a day or 2. One gets out of the habit of practice with fatal ease. And that's the thing is you think, I've been doing it. Of course it's a habit. Of course I would miss it so much if it just dropped out of my schedule. But then it does, and you hardly notice, right?
Yes. And even in my case, I had Sarah still on her treadmill desk. So she has a treadmill desk in her closet at home, her closet she made into an office. And she has one at her office in downtown Ojai. So she has 2. And I can always hear it whirring in the background. And yet it didn't seem like something I should be doing. So I'm recommitting, Gretch, to the treadmill desk. Now, you were crucial to this because last time you were in LA, you helped me clear clutter in my office. And part of that was clearing off the treadmill desk. And I think that was a big piece of me getting back on the desk.
Well, this makes me think of a couple things. Partly it was our try this at home of dust it off. Like if something's dusty, that's a clue that it's not being used, or like dusty in the fact that it's loaded with stuff. But also the fact that a little bit of inconvenience can stop us from doing something. And so if there's something we want ourselves to do, it should be as convenient as possible. And so not only did you have to start being on the treadmill desk again, you had to clear off the treadmill desk. And that's something that you do not enjoy doing. And so that was like a big hurdle. And you could say, well, Gretchen, you came over and we did it in like an hour, which we did, but that was a real stumbling block for you. But here's the other thing is starting is often easier than starting over. The novelty of starting something kind of gives you energy, you're curious, but then if you stop and you have to start over, that can often be hard. Sometimes we feel discouraged because we feel like we backslid. It is a little bit more effortful to be on a treadmill desk. I mean, that is the point of it.
Yes.
I remember one time, I think maybe you gave up eating Pepperidge Farm fish crackers. Then you were like, oh, but then I ate some and I remembered, wow, these crackers are really good. I kind of forgot.
Yeah.
So starting over is harder. And this reminds me of this idea of setting a tripwire. And I would say, do not treat yourself with something like not doing the treadmill disc. In Better Than Before, I talk about treats and rewards. And you want treats to be healthy treats. You don't want to treat yourself for something that you've been doing that's good by not doing it or doing the opposite, because that's just counterproductive. So I would say it wasn't a good treat to begin with, but even if you wanted to take a break from it, setting a tripwire, being like, and next Monday I will start again, and not something like the next time we get a show on the air, but something like by the beginning of next week, or starting on Saturday morning, so that there was an obvious thing, because it was just sort of a general break that then extended and extended and extended.
Exactly. So I'm recommitted back on the treadmill desk so I can feel smug once again for all the steps I'm getting in, which is.
And what is it like? What do you notice about that?
Well, it's only been like a couple of days or a few days. It's not that hard. I mean, it's very easy to walk and talk. So much of what I'm doing is like chatting with Sarah about various things. Mm-hmm. I still find it hard to write, like to really write on the treadmill desk, but that's a small part of my job. I mean, there's so many other things I'm doing besides writing that there's plenty of time to get in a lot of steps. And then I feel like I've done more than one thing in a day. It's like, oh, I haven't just written this email and responded to this person and had this meeting. I've also gotten in maybe 10,000 steps. So it's got many benefits.
And do you find that you're more tired at the end of the day, or do you notice it, or you don't even really notice it?
I haven't noticed that yet, but if I do more, if I start doing like 3 hours, then I probably will feel more tired.
Yeah.
So
well done. That's great.
Well, you gave me that treadmill desk, Gretchen. It was like the best gift ever. So thank you.
That's my most successful gift ever. So I take a personal interest in the treadmill, and I'm very excited that you're back on it. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And Gretchen, of course, I'm a type 1 diabetic. So just more movement is really good for blood sugar. So for me in particular, the treadmill desk is a great thing in life.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I'm so happy. Gold star.
And Gretchen, this week our quotation is A Secret of Adulthood.
Yes, this is one of my secrets of adulthood from my book. And we were walking in Kansas City, Elizabeth, and this came up, and neither one of us could remember the context, which is so annoying to me because it was the perfect example of this secret of adulthood. And I started saying it, and you joined in, and we said it in chorus because it was such a good example. And neither one of us can remember it, so it's so annoying. But there is an official one. There's like an official illustration of it, fortunately. And the secret of adulthood is the person who works the hardest isn't necessarily doing the best work. So just because, you're working the most hours or you're grinding it out, it doesn't necessarily mean that your work is the best work, because sometimes we have to work smarter. And there's a wonderful story about this, which Elizabeth, actually, you originally told me the story, and then I looked it up. And it is a story, like who knows if it's apocryphal or not, but it is a story that is often reported. And the story goes that the celebrated actors Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman were working together on the 1976 movie Marathon Man. And the story goes that Hoffman told Olivier that to prepare for a scene where his character had been awake for 3 days, he himself, Dustin Hoffman, had not slept for 48 hours. And Olivier replied, "My dear boy, why don't you just try acting?" And it's just funny. It's like, yeah, why don't you just try acting, right? And they both gave amazing performances. So anyway, that's the secret of adulthood and a story that I love.
I love it too.
It's funny. So Elizabeth, are you feeling happier?
Yes, I am feeling happier. Thank you to Chuck. Bye, Gretch.
Bye, Elizabeth. The best time to start a happiness project is 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
Gretch, I was racking my brain to try to remember what we were talking about.
What were we talking
we got to
about?
the try acting, but it just goes to show you always have to write everything down.
You have to write it down.
You have to, because in the moment, if you think you might want to talk about it later, write it down because
we were exclaiming with delight that we had both, like, it fit the example so perfectly. Both of us did it. I know exactly where we were standing.
Yes.
I mean, I tried to retrace our stuff. I know, write it down. If there's anything we have learned with creative ideas, write it down.
Yep.
From the Onward Project.